What's up, Junkies? The calendar's turned to November, and we actually have something to play for. Today we're going to preview the Michigan State game, and we're going for 4 in a row.
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, he's gonna go! Holy cow!
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better! He gets better and better! Team is JPB! Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out!
We are talking about a 4-game winning streak.
A potential 4-game winning streak.
We're talking about a 4-game winning streak.
We're talking about getting a 4-game
Yes.
winning streak.
Going on one.
Because we can't be talking about it yet because it hasn't happened yet, but
No, you're right.
we will be on Sunday.
Hopefully. that was some super positivity right up front from Jed there.
Yeah,
Did you just give away the end?
I'm a little uncomfortable about it. I got to be honest.
Yeah, this is getting weird. This is weird.
Let me just hit the bottom of the table
Jed,
over
you just
there.
want to give us our picks now and we can call this a short episode for these guys?
No, it's kind of like the last episode where I was just like, I don't know what to do with all this positivity that I have.
It's kind of wild, isn't it?
It's weird to think about that it's November and we have games to play for.
And we're not making a every excuse under the book to try and explain away what the fuck's happening.
Exactly. Like, we're 2 games above 500. Like,
It's been since 2016 that we could say that.
yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
I don't know. I'm super excited.
Speechless, apparently.
I'm super excited. This is amazing.
It's been fun. Obviously, viewership wise, people like it better because people actually want to take in some Husker content during the week. It seems like. Thanks for everybody that's been helping us out there.
Hey, before we go any further, I want all you junkies to like, subscribe, and share.
Matt, what are you expecting to happen on Saturday? As far as, is it going to be exciting? Is it going to be close? Or last week you guessed 3-6 or something like that, 6-3, something like that.
You just yelled at me for basically giving away
I
the ending.
I thought we were clearing the show out early. I thought we were done.
Well, just as a preview, I guess, it just comes down to us continuing to execute. I don't think it's going to be a super flashy game by any means.
No.
I think we're going to run the ball quite a bit, pass the ball maybe 11 times again. And as long as our defense keeps playing the way it is, it's going to be 14, 21, 28 maybe points for us. And I don't see Michigan State scoring much.
Michigan State's not in the Big Ten West, but it's going to be a Big Ten West game.
Yeah.
Jed, I know that it was shared around a little bit. We tweeted it out. You tweeted it out from our account. What was that, on Monday?
Yeah.
Because Matt brought up the defense here.
Yep.
Some crazy defensive stats.
Yeah.
That go along with the way things have been happening for us on our side of the field.
Yeah, it kind of just came about. I was talking to my buddy down in Florida. We were just bullshitting about football like we do basically every single day. And we were just kind of came up organically about how we give up the ball so many times in our own territory and how it should be a death sentence. I mean, it has been in past years where, we had the kickoff fumble, automatically Purdue gets the ball. Against Northwestern, first play of the game, interception, like the 4th pass of the game, interception, all in Nebraska's territory. And in the past, we'd always be like, well, they're going to score a touchdown. Not even just a field goal.
I agree with you there, but I'm going to stop you right now and say that there are not very many teams anywhere in the country, regardless of who they are, that can turn the ball over on their own side of the field on the first offensive play of the game and expect to win that game.
Yeah.
And do it 2 weeks in a row? What the fuck?
Well, but it all of that, but also it was more about being down so early, because we've talked about it towards the beginning of this season, where what is this team going to be like when they get punched in the mouth? When something bad goes wrong? Is it just a giant snowball down a hill like it has been for many times in the last handful of years? Can they rebound from something like that? And, like I said, you get these turnovers early, you get these turnovers on Nebraska's side of the field. Like, okay, well, they're going to go, Northwestern's going to go up 7-0 because they got the ball on inside the 20-yard line or whatever it is. After the first play of the game, it's like, okay, now how are they going to respond? Well, we didn't really have that feeling against Northwestern. At least I didn't. I'll speak for myself. I didn't have that feeling against Purdue at all.
I had it more against Purdue than I did against Northwestern.
Yeah.
Just because I was more afraid of Purdue's offense.
I get that, but I think the Northwestern game gave me confidence against Purdue in that scenario because I thought that was going to happen. And those twice against Northwestern, and they only came away with 3 points.
That was the wild.
So it's like,
well, and I think our defense gives the rest of their team confidence.
Yes,
that's why we don't all get that pit in our stomach when something bad happens because we trust our defense.
Mm-hmm. So
now that they've started making some turnovers.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my buddy, and I was just like, I should go back and just like look at all the drives that start inside where the opponent starts inside our territory, whether that's due to a punt return that they get inside our territory, a turnover, whatever it might be. It doesn't really matter what it is. I went into 2023 this year so far, and then I also wanted to compare it to the last 2 seasons just to kind of get a gauge. And I'll start with the last 2 seasons just because these numbers are ridiculous. You'll hear these numbers and then you'll hear what this year's numbers are, and it's like, holy crap. Like in 2022, we had 13 drives through the 12 games where the opponent started inside our 50-yard line. We gave up 8 touchdowns, 4 field goals, and only forced 1 point. We allowed 5.2 yards per drive, or 5.2 points per drive, which, I mean, obviously when you give up 8 touchdowns and 13 of those, that point total is going to be very high. Points or yards per play was just over 4 yards per play in 2022. And of the available yards, so for instance, like if they get
yards
the ball
left to the goal line,
if they get the ball on the 45-yard line, they got 45 yards to go. So that's what I'm talking about here. Of available yards allowed, we gave up 65% of the yards. 2021, they weren't a whole lot better. I mean, we didn't.
But remember, we all thought our defense was way better that year than.
No, 2021.
That's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
2021,
Sorry, yeah.
We thought our defense was way better than it was last year.
Yes. Well, and I mean, with these numbers, it was because we didn't give up as many touchdowns. It was the same number of drives, 13 drives, but we only gave up 4 touchdowns and 4 field goals, so 4 less touchdowns than 2022. We did force 2 punts, 2 missed field goals, and we did get a turnover with an interception. And we allowed less points per drive, 4.5 points per drive. It was 3.0 points per drive, because I typed this up wrong, and 4.5 yards per play, while giving up 55 yards of the available yards. So
which those sound like good numbers to me.
I mean, they're okay
doable when you're starting in your own
exactly
in your own side of the field.
Yes, but man, this year. Now I will say when I put it out on Twitter, people had already started looking at it, sharing it, and stuff like that. And then I realized I did a typo on there. On Twitter, it says 13 drives for us this year. It's actually 12 drives. That didn't really that doesn't completely screw it up.
Give it time.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sure we'll get at least one more in there.
Honestly, one of my biggest things is like we had 13 drives in 2022 and 2021. We already have 12 through 8 games. That's not great.
No, it's awful.
That's doesn't go against the defense, but still.
If you ask anybody whether they can see or not,
yeah,
and they've watched any of our games, they're going to tell you turnovers are the biggest problem we have this year.
But so with 12 drives, we've only allowed 3 touchdowns, 3 field goals. So already that's lower than both of those 2 seasons individually. We forced 2 punts, 2 turnovers on downs, 1 missed field goal. We've got 1 fumble. The biggest numbers of these for me is 2.5 points allowed per drive. So that's under a field goal. 1.6 yards per play. I saw that and I was just like, holy shit. And then obviously if you got a very low yards per play, only 22% of the available yards have been allowed. Like the way that this defense is playing is, I mean, we see it every weekend and we're like, Jesus, they are this good. We keep questioning it and we're like, are they going to keep this up? We've asked it on the show a couple weeks ago. are they going to kind of resent the offense and kind of start to be like, fuck you guys?
I think it's been the opposite. I think they've picked the offense up.
Yes. And this sort of stuff is what helps them pick up the offense. Like, hey, you know what? You guys fucked up. That sucks. Try not to do it again, but we got you. Like, help a brother out.
Right.
Let's go. And, I mean, this has not only kept us in games because, I mean, the offense doesn't score enough, but, man, I thought it was going to be good, but when I typed this out and I started adding all these things up, I was just like, wow, this is so much better than I expected it to be.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny that it's always funny when we're watching games and stuff, and it feels like there's always one of us that's saying something that's like, boom, 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 this should have been this or whatever, and then it's like 10 seconds later the announcer makes the same comment. We're always like, oh, we should have been an announcer, should have done this. It was funny that you came out with all those stats and you put all that work into that and did all that stuff. And then, and that was on Monday, I think, right? And then today, The Athletic drops that article.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't subscribed to The Athletic, that's probably the best place to go find
100%
quality articles on Nebraska football. And it's what?
And really
$1 a month?
Really on all sports. It's
Okay,
not just
fair.
Nebraska. I'll give them all the plug. I mean,
I don't spend a lot of time reading on other sports.
no, I honestly, I don't either. I only go there for college football in Nebraska.
Yeah.
But they do great work.
They do a
all
really good
across the-
job.
And honestly, I don't even know how much it is. I just pay it. I don't care.
But
It's like it comes out of my account. I never look at
I
it.
know.
Yeah, and we're just lucky enough he shares it with us. Or shares it with the big red junkie.
Nobody tell them.
Yeah, don't tell them. You didn't hear anything, Athletic.
Oh, I'm sure we're the only ones that share stuff. Yeah.
But the article that popped up today, and I sent it to you guys, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I saw that this morning." Was talking about defensive stops, and the way that they broke it down at the beginning of the article, I actually absolutely loved it because it really truly like we've talked a lot about like FPIs and different things like that, and how they're not a true gauge of a team. We talked about it for the last 3 years with Nebraska. They kept putting us somewhere in the top 30 of programs in the country, and we're always dead fucking last.
Best 3-9 team of all time.
Best 3-9 team of all time.
Hey, don't try and take that away from us.
The way this metric talks about defensive stops, and it really just puts it into a, how frequently are they going to get that stop? How frequently are they going to make those stops in a game, in-game situation, keep somebody from scoring to give your offense a chance to win the ball game? And you look at like the numbers that jumped off the page to me, that told me more when you're looking at overall defensive statistics than anything when it came to looking at how we rank nationally for points per game or yards per game or any of that stuff. What you talked about fell right into this. Last year on defensive stops per game, we finished the year ranked 93rd in the country. And we were not good. We all know that. But this year, right now, we're sitting at through what? 8 games? It's 8 games, right? This is week 9 we're heading into?
Yep.
Yeah, we're ranked 23rd. But if you actually just go back over our last 3 games, our 3-game winning streak that we're on, we have a defensive stop rating of 87.2, which ranks for 4th best in all of FBS, and only behind Michigan and Power 5 schools. So you start looking at that and you go, okay.
So the only way to get better is to steal signs.
Yeah, you might be right. That might be the only way to top Michigan, or only play Nebraska as your hardest team so far this year.
No, Rutgers.
Or Rutgers, I guess. Yeah. Rutgers.
But yeah.
What an argument.
Yeah. What an argument.
Well, I mean,
I encourage everybody to go out and look at it. I'm going to drop the link to it in the details for the episode because it's so good and there's so much there's just constant stuff in here, and it talks about how the offense has really put the defense behind the 8 ball again with the second half yardage type stuff. And it's good stuff. Go check it out.
absolutely.
That's all I've got on that. With that, I want to move on to our new segment. Jed got to do it before, but Matt hasn't done it yet.
I'm excited.
So for those of you who don't know, this is a rapid fire. Do you think it's pipe dream or no pipe dream?
Pipe or no pipe?
Jed, Nebraska's averaging 18.6 points given up. Iowa is scoring an average of 19.5 points per game rate. Pipe or no pipe, Nebraska D can keep that same number under the Iowa's for the remainder of the season?
That would be a pipe. You're talking about just for the last 4 games, right?
Yes.
Okay. I believe that would be a pipe dream because I think Wisconsin can score a little bit. I think Maryland might be able to score a little bit, and that's a low number of points.
Fair enough.
No pipe.
No pipe.
No pipe. Our
Any
defense
reason?
isn't letting anybody score, even though
No more scoring.
Iowa sucks at scoring.
Pipe or no pipe?
Nebraska makes the Big Ten championship, Matt.
Pipe. I don't see us winning all of our games. We need to in order to get there. So that's a pipe.
Fair enough.
I think that is no pipe. We don't have to win all the games. We can afford to lose one, but there is a chance, so no pipe.
We are in a weird world right now where Jed is way too positive.
I keep hearing something hit the bottom of the table over there.
Back on track.
Pipe or no pipe?
Malachi Coleman averages 1 touchdown a game the rest of the way out.
Big pipe. The only thing consistent about our offense is that it's inconsistent.
Yeah, the fattest pipe I can think of.
Same reason?
I'll be surprised if he gets targeted in all of our next 4 games.
That's true. That's very true.
Pipe or no pipe?
Matt, Nebraska holds Michigan State to single digits this weekend.
No pipe. I think it's done deal.
Slight pipe. Because I
You can't
think
go slight pipe,
Slide
bro.
pipe? Is it like a crack
You're
pipe?
either smoking or you're not smoking.
yeah, it's a crack pipe. It's a small pipe. Yeah. I think they might get to 10.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Pipe or no pipe?
Jed, Nebraska finishes the season ranked in the top 25.
Big pipe. Because I think we're going to lose at least one more game, and we won't be in the top. You're talking about the end of the regular season, right?
End of the regular season.
Okay. Then, yeah, that's a pipe.
Agreed. That's a pipe. I wish it weren't so, but there's going to be enough teams with a better record than us at the end of the year.
And better resumes.
Fair enough. I think that's going to be the big thing that's going to hold us down is the resumes part.
That's mainly my thing, yeah.
Yeah. It's weird to see some of the teams that are creeping in there with such terrible resumes, but they also either haven't lost or they've only lost a close one.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
Also, you can take whoever's at like 18th and above and put all their names in a pot and stir it around, and that's what you're
absolutely.
going to get for your last 7 or 8 teams. Like,
We got to shout out Mr. Anthony Bassino and Justin Bottom for those questions because I think they gave me all but one of those. So,
Nice.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We appreciate it. And anybody else that's enjoying that segment at all, send us your stuff. You can send it to bigredjunkies@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever. Send us a DM. We are not shy. So
Piping
hit
it.
us up. Jed, let's go ahead and jump into what we know about Michigan State. Start on offense?
Do you want my weird thing first?
No. That's always best right before.
Okay. It's not really that good, but
No?
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever.
Give it to us then. We'll build up.
apparently Michigan State has it's a big campus. They have like 10 miles of bike lanes throughout the campus. And they have over 200,000 bike parking spots.
What?
I'm confused as to how
200,000?
Yes.
Is that not a typo? That's a lot.
I read it
bike
like 3
parking
different
spots.
places.
Typo. Really?
I was highly confused as to like how many students do you think that they have for how many bikes? And also in the winter in East Lansing, Michigan, how many bikes are riding around?
200,000.
That's what I read.
Their stadium only seats 75,000.
There's not even
So let's
10%
get
of that
everybody
as
coming to
students
the
on
game.
campus.
Let's get everybody coming to the game and tailgating for the game.
On a
They've all
bike.
got to ride a bike.
Yeah.
We're going to let their dogs ride bikes too. They can stay outside.
This feels like somebody had a budget they had to get rid of.
I
What do we
it's-
need?
it's like
200,000 bike parking spots.
was like,
Jesus
wait, what?
Christ. Now I
That's
get they're
wild.
they're probably not all in the same spot.
Well, of course not.
But
I mean,
even
you got
if
10 miles of bike
Dude,
lanes.
50,000 people get on bikes at one place and ride them to the other. That's 100,000, I guess, right there.
it's like Ragbri in Michigan every single week.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like 200,000 bike parking spots. All right. I guess.
Jesus.
Yeah, they have in 2023 they have 50,344 students enrolled.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Do they all have 4 bikes?
Yeah, well, I think here's the deal. I think Matt was onto something. It's different locations. Must be the 4 corners of campus. There's just 50,000 bike spots.
I
on
guess.
Four Corners campus or something. That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing ever. And then Al Capone was actually the reason that they have all of those. And Nebraska was the first person to put a bike in it. That's how we got all tied in here.
Don't forget about the dead dog under the tree.
Oh, yeah, dead. And they actually use ground up dead dog.
You guys
put into the
are
bike
all
lanes.
over the fucking place right now. Jesus Christ.
For those of you who have not watched our previous shows, we always do a fun fact like this. And if you
We
don't
just
understand what's
melded
happening right
them
now,
all together.
Yeah, that's just basically the last 4 or 5 weeks in a row.
Al Capone, dead dogs. We got it all for you, folks. Jesus, you two.
You've come to the right
Christ.
place.
Was that really the best thing you could come up with about
was it.
Michigan
I mean,
State?
that's a pretty weird fact.
That was it.
Let me ask you this one because they've got a fossil on their staff for this week. D'Antonio's back,
Yep.
right?
He came back
What is
after
his
Tucker left.
capacity?
He's just the associate head coach. He keeps saying that it's their show. I'm just here for, any sort of support that they might need.
Were you guys surprised by that at all because of how he left and the cloud that was over the program at the time?
Not really, because he's the best coach that they've had. I mean, he's the
Yeah, but wasn't he kind of getting pushed out because of, well, A, they hadn't been playing very well the
Yeah.
last couple of years, but B, they had all that stuff. They kind of
Yeah,
they
but
covered up some sexual assault stuff.
he's a lot like the almost like a Bo Pelini type, where half the fan base wanted him gone,
He
half
wasn't real well
the fan
liked.
base, but half the fan base wanted him. So it's kind of,
Who won out?
a little bit of a, bring the guy that we know back just to right the ship for the next 10 games or whatever it is, to make us feel at least comfortable and whatever else. That's all it is.
It doesn't hurt for them is my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like, they're already
Yeah.
struggling so much this year. Do whatever you can to help
And
support
I mean,
that.
really, there's not much he can do as far as changing things. He's just there for support and help. Harlan
That's my thing
Harlan Barnett, who has never been a head coach before, just figure out what the fuck to do.
And he was. This is his first year as D coordinator too, wasn't it?
I
Wasn't he
think
at Florida State prior to this?
he was at Florida State. I don't remember if it was his first year or second year. He was at Florida State previous to this,
And
but
that's
I
when
don't
their
remember if it
defense
was last year.
terrible.
But he's a former player at Michigan State, so I mean he knows the area too. So
Makes sense.
Knows where to park his bike.
Apparently, right next to him,
yeah.
they'll walk around with a bike spot. Got like fold up bike racks that they put on their backpacks. That's enough about bikes.
No, it's not.
So is he helping at all with any scheming or anything like that, or is he more like clock management in game?
I would assume that he is helping, but to the extent, I don't know. Like I said, all I can go off is Mark D'Antonio constantly says, I'm just here to help the guys out. They're running the show, all of that stuff.
I bet he has a bigger presence in practice than he does during the game.
I mean, it's probably a lot like, Rhule going to Osborne and asking him questions and, having
That's why I was wondering if it
having
was more of
Osborne
like
come in for film sessions and things like that. I mean, I'm sure he helps a ton, but more for experience and everything else. I don't know how much he's changing
That's fair.
the philosophy that, that is going on with the program that they already know. I can't imagine that they're changing that much, a third of the way through the season.
Yeah. What do we know about their offense? We already played their former quarterback this year.
They don't score. They don't score very much. Like they have their running back. Them as a team, they have one rushing touchdown in the last 5 games.
Jesus.
Their running back Nate Carter is their leading rusher. He has just over 600 yards. He's number 3 in the conference for rushing yards, but they don't have anybody behind him at all. He has not scored a touchdown since week 2 versus Richmond when he had 3 touchdowns. He has 4 touchdowns on the season. He had 3 against Richmond in week 2, and he hasn't scored a touchdown the rest of the year.
Jesus Christ.
So, I mean, he's a good player. Our running back coach, E.J. Barthel, actually coached him at UConn last year. So,
Okay.
we have some familiarity with at least him as a runner on the staff at Nebraska. So that whatever that means as far as whatever that might be able to help, I don't know. So, I mean, he gets yards. He just can't get in the fucking end zone.
Well, it doesn't look like they're getting to the end zone much at all.
No, they've scored one touchdown in just over 8 quarters.
That's
the last 8
wild.
quarters. So and that was towards the end of the game against Minnesota.
Yeah, where they only scored 12 points.
Yeah.
They didn't score a point against Michigan.
What a sloppy fucking game all around that one was.
Yeah, it was. They're more than likely, it sounds like they might be starting their third quarterback of the season against Nebraska. It's a true freshman. His name is Sam Levitt. He came in the fourth quarter against Minnesota. He actually played pretty well.
He's not a relation to Will, is he?
Will.
Isn't that the quarterback that came out of Kentucky that's down at Titans now?
No, that's Will Levis.
See? No relation.
It'd be weird if they were related.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he played pretty well against Minnesota. He went 8 of 12 for 73 yards. He did throw an interception. He did throw a touchdown. But he also had 6 carries for 52 yards. He's kind of one of those, like, true freshmen that you throw out there, and he's like, I'm like JoJo, the idiot circus boy with a pretty new pet. And he's just like, I just want to run everywhere.
Kind of like Harburg was the first week?
Yeah.
That should bode well against our defense.
Well, I mean, they did a lot of quarterback draws when he was in there. I mean, he was only in there for like 2 or 3 drives.
This will be the first, like, more of a dual threat type that
Yes.
we've faced in the last few weeks.
Yes. He can sling it around a little bit. He was apparently the Oregon high school player of the year last year.
It's nothing to snuff at.
I mean, I don't know what great talent comes out of Oregon, but you know what? If you're the player of the year, that's pretty good. So, like I said, it sounds like he might be the starter. If he's not, it's going to be Caton Hauser, who has started the last 3 games. He's not that great. Even if Caton Hauser starts, Levitt's coming in. So
Sure.
they'll play.
We're going to see both of them probably.
More than likely. Well, I mean, if Sam Levitt starts, I don't know if we see both of them unless Sam Levitt struggles. But there's a good chance that we'll probably see both of them. Neither of them are that great. Again, a true freshman.
Did Hauser get hurt or
No, he
just not performing, so they're
No.
going to try somebody else?
No, I think it might be a situation where I'm pretty sure Sam Levitt has played in 4 games now, and it's kind of one of those, either you play the rest of the season or you don't, and let's just see what we got.
Sure.
So maybe...
And you're an interim head coach that might not be getting the job. So.
Exactly.
It looks like they could honestly use him. He came into the game late last week, and he was almost half their offense.
Yeah.
Well,
he had over half of their rushing yards.
The reason I like that...
he was the leading rusher. He only came in the second quarter, or the fourth quarter, and he was their leading rusher.
And he was only 40 yards behind in passing.
Yeah.
The reason I like that for us is because of the way that we contain a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be nice to see that. I mean, I don't know if they run any sort of option game or not. I haven't had a chance to watch any of their games yet. So
I've watched a little bit, and everything that I watched was awful, so I changed it to something else.
Well, the one that I tried to see a little bit of was for some reason I clicked on the Michigan game, and I did the key plays.
Michigan did the same thing to them that they did to us.
It was like the key plays were like the first 12 plays were all like it was all Michigan. I wasn't seeing anything of Michigan State.
They beat them like what 49 to nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they couldn't even get a score on the board against some like 4th and 5th string type guys.
Yeah.
They had random like 5 deep guys at other positions moving down the line just so that they could get in the game type stuff. It was wild.
Michigan State's offense, they do have a former Nebraska player from last year.
Who's that?
Wide receiver Elante Brown.
Really? I didn't know that.
He doesn't play much. He's only got 2 catches for 7 yards on the season. He almost got ejected towards the end of the Minnesota game because they got called in for a targeting. They reviewed it, so he would have missed the first half of this Nebraska game. But they reviewed it and it wasn't targeting, so they took that off the board. But they also have a wide receiver who's a freshman who has a very familiar name to any football fan. One of the greatest tight ends in the history of the game, Antonio Gates Jr.
Really?
His son is playing for Michigan State.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is he anything like his dad?
He's like 3-4 inches shorter. He's not as big. He's just a wide receiver, but he's also just a freshman.
Junior.
But he's also just a freshman, so whatever he builds into, I don't know. Yeah.
Do we know anything about their offensive line?
It's not that. I mean, again, they can't get in the end zone. They can get yards, but they can't stop anybody.
How old are they?
I didn't look
Didn't
that
pull it much?
No.
I really think the key for Michigan State, if they're going to have any success, is going to be in passing the ball. That's the one. And
Well,
it's
that's
not
the
even,
weakness of our defense.
It's not even really a weakness of our defense. It's just the weakest part of our defense.
Honestly, it started
That's
to
what I
balance
meant.
out.
Yes.
And
It
so
started to balance out.
that's what I mean. If they have a chance to score any points, it's going to be through the air.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like, I mean, this young kid, he went 1-1. He had a touchdown and an interception.
Mhm.
So it doesn't seem like they're that good on offense.
And if you want to go in turnovers, he also had a fumble. So I mean, it's he technically had 2.
Is he playing for Nebraska?
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this. Looking at the Tommy Hill situation and how he's gone back and forth, it seems like I almost feel like I like him better on defense simply from a fact that he's that dude, like we've talked about, that is out there looking for the ball. And it's given us almost another element to the back end of our defense. It says, cool, go ahead and try and throw on us, but you better be making those passes perfect because otherwise we're coming for him now.
He caught the most passes of the game last week for our team, and he was on defense. You can't take him away from that secondary.
Yeah.
I've only liked him on defense because I just think he was taking up space on the offensive side. I just think that, yes, he's an athlete and all that stuff. That's great. But I'd rather see guys that are actually playing the wide receiver position out there.
We've got enough talent, the young talent on the receiving side, that we don't really need him there.
Especially for what we're doing with our offense.
It'd be different if they were actually using him on offense.
Right.
They were not
or using wide
him.
receivers really in general.
That's true too. But
like if we were out there slinging the ball 30, 35, 40 times a game,
yeah,
then give me a more experienced athlete on that side of the ball.
Yeah, 11 passes. We don't really need him to be out there for anything.
Yeah, I like him being
And
back on defense.
He seems like he's really taking into his own on playing in that secondary.
Yes, he is.
I mean, he was everywhere last week.
Don't you guys feel like we've seen a little bit of a shift? Kind of what we talked about a few weeks ago about how we weren't getting any of those turnovers. It seemed like maybe they weren't even really trying for them, just simply from maybe Tony White is trying to teach basics. Let's get this down first before we try and move to that. And then all of a sudden last week, it felt like we truly, I felt like the guys were turning around looking for the ball more. I felt like they were looking for more opportunities to see if they could make those game-swinging plays.
I think one of the reasons why they were looking for the ball more is because the way the wind was swirling in that stadium. They're like, well, if this ball's going to be up there for a long time, who knows where it's going to go?
That's true.
So let's look for it.
And both of the Tommy Hill interceptions did get they were knocked down midair.
Yeah. I think that played a big factor in the Purdue game.
That's a good point.
We still are not doing much to strip the ball, though.
No.
We're not getting our hands in there to force fumbles at all.
Yeah. We do see, when they're chasing somebody down, we do see them go for the knockout. But we're not, there's even been times where we've seen guys that are getting mossed on or getting a catch on them where their arm is in position to rip the ball out and they just don't do it.
Yeah.
They go to the ground limp with them. And so, like we talked about, maybe those are just techniques that they aren't getting to yet because they're really so focused on the fundamentals.
That's kind of what I was about to say. It's to me, I agree that it would be great if we start ripping the ball a little bit. But
start throwing in 3 or 4
because
turnovers a game.
Because of how bad we've been at tackling the last handful of years, I'm okay with just tackling the guy and getting him down and moving on to the next play.
Yeah. At this point, when we're bitching about not getting enough turnovers,
exactly,
we're we're getting a little greedy here, guys.
No, it would be great, but let's just keep tackling the way that we are, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from our defense to get more turnovers. I'll say that, but I'd still take them.
Absolutely.
Do we know much about this porous-ass defense that they have? Because as I'm just looking over their last 5 games, I mean, they gave up 26 points to Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa, who just fired Baby Ferentz, their head coach's son, as OC.
At the end of the
he's
season.
Terrible.
Yeah, he's still there at the end of the
announced
season.
I know.
They gave up 49 to Michigan, 27 to Rutgers, 31 to Maryland, and 27 last week to Minnesota. Their defense is bad.
It is.
This is not the Michigan State defense that we've come to know. This isn't even the Mel Tucker defenses that we saw at Colorado and then at Michigan State.
Now, it is bad, but they're the only team. They're the team that held Michigan to the least amount of rushing yards in the season at 120 rushing yards for Michigan. So, I mean, their front 7 is okay. Their secondary is not good. They've got a guy, Simeon Barrow, on the defensive line who actually entered the transfer portal last week, like almost right on the deadline of when he was able to, because after your coach gets fired, you have 30 days to be able to enter the transfer portal. He was in the transfer portal for 2 days. He came back because he said he didn't want to quit on his team, blah, 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 blah. But
Didn't have any interest.
Yeah.
That's not true, because
Really?
in the 2 days, he got phone calls from 40 different teams.
Wow.
So he's a good player, and he can disrupt a lot of things for an offensive line. And considering our offensive line is still a patchwork offensive line,
So he's an end?
he's on the defensive line.
Gotcha.
So it sounds like we could see a similar game as we did last week.
And
A lot
they,
of short runs, and then hopefully that opens up the passing game.
and they have 2 linebackers, just like Purdue does, that are heavy hitters.
Are they the same size?
I didn't look at their
Those guys
sizes.
those guys were like 8 foot tall.
They were, but they have a senior and a freshman. Jordan Hall is one of the guys, and he's just everywhere. He's all over the place. It's going to be very reminiscent as far as the front seven of Purdue. Now maybe that's helpful because we can kind of just go back on what we did or didn't do against Purdue and do better against Michigan State. I think the biggest thing is this environment at Michigan State is not going to be good because these fans, this is the last home game for Michigan State.
Seriously?
It's kind of like they're just walking through the rest of the season. It's a lot like Nebraska last year where the coach gets fired
Just want to get to the end of it.
so early in the season, and we're just waiting for the end of this can we just finish this to get a new coach in here and move forward? We did that last year.
Do they really? Is that the same feeling around the program? Is that they're moving on? This guy's not going to get a shot at
I
it?
can't imagine that this guy gets the job. No.
It'd be tough with looking at what he's done with it. I mean, Mickey Joseph was making more strides than what he's done so far. But you mentioned how little rushing yards they gave up to Michigan. Then last week they still turned around. They gave up 200 passing and right on the nose at 200 rushing to Minnesota.
Yep.
And the big thing that stands out to me from their game against Minnesota was time of possession. It was 36 minutes to 23 in favor of Minnesota. That's a big disparity there. And if you look at what Nebraska's been able to do as far as time of possession, we have been in control of that, with the exception of the Michigan game, pretty much the whole season.
I heard an interview today on Unsportsmanlike Conduct with a Michigan State writer, and he brought up 2 things that I wrote down. One, he said, Michigan State will play well for about 35 minutes. He said, I don't know what 35-minute chunk they'll play good for. It might be
The front or the back.
It might be the middle. It might be somewhere. But he's like, so to me, that basically says, don't let them feel good early. I mean, that's what happened in the Minnesota game. Minnesota gave up the ball twice on 2 fumbles and allowed Michigan State to kick 2 field goals to go up 6-0. So, don't make them feel good early. And I think it's almost like they want to quit. Just don't give them a reason not to.
Don't let them stay in it.
Exactly.
Close the door quick. Kind of like what we did against Purdue. Get up 14-0 real fast. I think that put them on their heels for the rest of the game, and they almost seemed like, let's just get this over with by the end of it.
Yep. The other one was he brought up fourth quarter rushing against Michigan State. And again, this is kind of part of just break their will, force them to quit, wear them down. He said Michigan State gives up a lot of yards in the fourth quarter. Against Minnesota, Minnesota had 96 rushing yards in the first 3 quarters of that game. They had 104 in the fourth quarter alone.
Jesus.
Against Rutgers,
We saw how we wore out Minnesota towards the end of that game.
Against Rutgers had 37 rushing yards in the first 3 quarters, and then they had 77 in the fourth quarter by itself.
That.
I mean, it really goes along with what Rhule always talks about, how he wants 75 rushing yards in the fourth quarter. We were able to get over 75 last week. We don't typically get over 75, but that's always his goal.
That's almost like it's scripted.
Yeah.
Like last week went for us. You're going to get to 75 easy.
Yeah. So, I mean, that plays into what Rhule wants to do in general in the fourth quarter is run the ball and just get out of there and beat them up a little bit. Michigan State has shown propensity this season to basically just be like, you can do whatever you want to in the running game in the fourth quarter. So hopefully we can get there and finish that out like that.
What did you think of his of Rhule in his press conference this week, kind of talking about we used to be talking about close losses and all of this stuff. And now we're kind of griping about ugly things in an ugly big win.
Yep.
He kind of put it on the media a little bit this last week. What did you think about that?
I mean, it's just with what I've been saying the last two shows. Like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, there's a part of me that wants to say, but this and but that. But at the end of the day, but we won. So shut the fuck up.
But I would have definitely taken this over what we had last year.
Yes. We've won 3 straight games with 3 straight games of negative turnover margin.
Yeah.
Well, and
which is insane.
It does not happen.
The main reason that I asked that question is because it was met with some opposition online. There's a lot of people calling Rhule out for making any comments about it. He's like, well, the only reason that we're still griping about, things that don't look right is because we care. You should just be happy that we care.
Yeah, the only reason we're still griping about it is because we haven't already won the national title this year.
Yeah, how about maybe don't care so hard that you're a dick and scare people away?
There are few people, specifically newer people to this organization, that appreciate how much Nebraska fans care more than Matt Rhule.
Yeah.
Matt Rhule talks about it all the time. He is very appreciative. I mean, hell, I'm pretty sure he said it. If he didn't say it on Monday with what you're talking about, he has said it before about he'll bring up stuff like that where maybe some people are getting a little greedy, but we love the fact that they care this much. I remember he said a couple weeks ago, everybody's saying that whatever happened to this and in the past, this in the past, this in the past. Well, the fans can do that. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So he understands.
Just like talking about going to the Big Ten championship.
The fans are going to be exactly. Well, and he made the comment after the game. He's like, I had a fan yell down to me, just one more, coach. And he looked back at me. He's like, I don't want one more. I want more than that. Do you just want one more? Or are you satisfied with just one more?
I want 4 more.
He understands the craziness of the fans. He appreciates it. But he's just not letting that seep into his program.
Yeah.
As far as with the players.
That's one thing.
It's okay that the fans are doing that, but
that's one thing we talked about before the season even started. Is he seems more prepared to deal with our fan base. It seems like he's got his plan and it's going according to plan, and he'll take whatever, and he's not afraid to speak his mind.
I think most of that, what the question that you asked, is more about him talking to the players and making sure that old mentality does not continue to seep into their headspace.
Yeah.
I didn't really take that as anything directed towards media or the fans. I took it more as, listen, guys, I'm saying the same thing up here as I am to you.
Say in the locker room, yeah.
That, what happened back then does not matter anymore. And we've seen that is the case on the field. Because, I mean, he's said it multiple times. In the past, we would have lost at least 2 of these games, more than likely 3 of these last 3 games.
Yep.
The way that we've played.
Most teams, like I said, most teams can't turn the ball over in their own territory on the first play of the game and expect to come out a winner.
Yep.
Turn the ball over twice before we score any points, and then we're up 21-0.
Yep.
Yep. Our defense is putting us in a really, really nice position.
Yeah, I take it more as he's talking to the players.
Jed, let's jump into the questions.
All right. Question number 1. Who will lead the team in receiving yards? This could be anybody you want.
Just a total toss-up?
We've had 4 different guys lead the team in the last 4 games.
Who is it?
I mean, you can pick anybody. Coleman, Fedoni, Doss, Lloyd, anybody else. You can just say other. So those were the 4, because those are basically going to be the top 4. If you want to we can just do Coleman, Fedoni, Doss, Lloyd, or other. Let's just go with that as your choices.
I feel like I have to go with Fedoni here. Just because I think weather-wise, it's going to be a little grumpy with us out there. It's going to be very similar to what we experienced last week, I think.
The big thing is the last couple of weeks, it's literally just been whoever gets the long touchdown pass.
Yeah. It's whoever catches the longest single pass.
I don't know if they're going to let us do that, though.
Yeah.
You've got tape now 2 weeks in a row of us getting way behind the defense. That feels like one of those things they're going to try and shut down a little bit. Just like, the fact that they're all trying to bring up a safety and spy Harburg. Maybe this changes that, and Harburg's going to be able to get a little more free this week because we have shown hey, we'll take the deep shot if you're not going to defend us like that.
Yeah, Purdue had 2 spies on Harburg for a few plays last game.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Which is very weird when he was running as tentatively as he was.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Fedoni just because I don't have a real reason.
I don't.
Surprised you didn't say Coleman, but
Well, and to the point
Didn't
of
get a target last week.
I know.
the point of they've seen that we have a few other guys that can catch a deep ball. I think it might be Coleman this week because he might be the most open. It could literally be any of them except for probably a Fedoni because I don't think they pass the ball to him much again. He just doesn't catch the ball that well.
Mhm.
And so it's going to be either Coleman or Lloyd. I'm going to go with Coleman.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of those.
Usually Jed loads up these questions and he's instantly got an answer.
Not this one.
He usually kind of sets this stuff up.
He asked it because everybody caught a pass last week.
Yeah, I know. That's what,
I'm going to go with Tommy Hill on the defense.
Can we do that? Is that an option?
You can say other.
He's gonna have a 73-yard interception in return for a touchdown.
It could be a running back that catches a screen pass and goes the whole way.
I thought about going for Emmett Johnson.
I mean, just for shits and giggles, because this is just a dartboard question anyway, I'm going to go with the other. Real quickly, before we continue, you brought up Harburg running a little tentative. Do you think he's injured, or do you think just all of the hits have been piling up?
I think that's the same question.
No, well, sore and injured could be two different things.
The reason that I don't think he's injured necessarily is because you're still seeing him make all these public appearances, going out to watch the D3 state volleyball tournament, things like that. Like you're seeing him out and about still, and he's not doing nonstop recovery, trying to work on stuff. So I don't know that it's really an injury per se. I think maybe some of the hits and some of the
just a collective of everything
has made him a little more tentative as far as, do I really want to continue taking these giant hits? But I don't know. I wish he would go, like, his strength is running with, no regard for his own safety.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't get back to that, he's basically just a game manager at that point.
What do you think?
It's hard to say. They haven't announced anything.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like it might be a nagging foot injury of some sort that wasn't bad enough to keep him out of a game. So he did something, he broke a toe or he sprained his ankle or something like that.
Or maybe a turf toe type.
That sort of thing where it might not even have happened immediately and it's just one thing. It could be a combination of several things.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. Question 2. I got to go with this question again. I hate saying it, but this is kind of the story of the team this year. Fumbles by Nebraska. This is not lost fumbles. I had this question last week. I had the number at 2.5 last week. We had 5. I have to jump it up to 3.5. We are averaging 3.7 in the last 3 games.
I'm going with the under just because of sheer numbers wise. That's an astronomical number, and I can't abide by it.
It is, but we are also averaging above that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And I'm also taking the numbers and I'm taking the over and praying to dear sweet baby Jesus that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
We can't keep giving up that many drop balls.
No.
It's going to bite us in the ass eventually.
Absolutely. It's not sustainable.
No. Our defense can't play superhero on everything.
No. I'm going with the under. Just there's a big part of me that I'm with you, Matt, where it's like you have to take the over, but maybe the positivity is taking me over.
Prove it.
I don't even know who Jed is tonight.
Jed's gonna have to go to the hospital when we're done.
Yeah, we're gonna need to get him checked out
into a psych ward,
urgent care.
Question 3: sacks by Nebraska's defense, 3.5. Michigan State has allowed 2 per game in the last 3 games. That is including the Michigan game. And Nebraska is averaging 3.6 in the last 3 games. So the number is 3.5 I got on Michigan State.
Minnesota only got 1, and they only had 3 tackles for loss.
Yeah.
You said it at 3.5?
3.5.
I'm going to go under. I think it's 3. I'm going to go under, though.
Okay.
And this is just sacks, not tackles for loss.
Yep.
I'm going to go over for one simple thing that I think that their freshman is going to be playing, and he's going to be trying to run the ball.
Okay. I wanted to go over on this one until I watched Sam Leavitt play. He's slippery. He's not. I'm not trying to say that he's like a great running back. He's not really all that big. I guess maybe it's bad to say compared to Harburg because Harburg's a giant fucking dude.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
But he's kind of slippery. And I think even if we get back there, he might be able to slip out a couple just to, not that he's going to go way downfield, but just not get sacked.
But their O-line is bad enough that I think we could be back there 10 times.
It could be. But I'm just going to go with the under just for the little bit that I saw of Levitt, that he might slip out of a few. Luke Gifford tackles, question number 4. 8.5. He had 10 last week. He's averaging 8 per game in the last 3 games. He has been kind of the everywhere guy for us.
He has been. He's been the dude I've been beating the drum on since basically the middle part of the Michigan game. Early middle part of the Michigan game. I am, you said 8.5?
8.5. So just barely over what he's been averaging the last 3 games.
He has been playing like a man possessed.
He has been.
It is still Isaac, not Luke, but yes.
Jesus
You
Christ.
said Luke again.
I even typed it up, Luke. God damn. I'm so sorry, Isaac. Fuck.
It's all right. His brother pimps him out on Twitter nonstop. I'm going to say for Isaac Gifford.
He's playing so good, I don't even know what his first name is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luke Gifford probably won't have that many.
I just call him Thor, man. I'm going to go with an under just because I think that we just continue to spread that tackle love around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he'll be up there.
I think if the number was 6.5 or 7.5, I'd have a harder time with this because I feel like he's like
I was going to say the same
6
thing.
or 7 guy.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say the same thing. I think 8.5 is just a little high for me. And at some point, that possession of his is going to drop off just a little bit, especially in a game that I'm expecting, or at least hoping, isn't going to be much of a game.
Okay. I'm going to go with the over, actually, on this one. I'm maybe banking on what I just said with the sack numbers of maybe Levitt slipping out a little bit, that Gifford will be the one to clean it up after he slips out of some. So I'm going to go with the over for that reason. Question 5. Michigan State passing yards. I really struggled with this number. I'm going to stick with this number no matter what you guys say, because I moved it 87 times and I asked a couple of different people on what they thought. I'm going to put the number at 184.5. Michigan State has not gone over 200 in the last 4 games. They're averaging 162 in those 4 games. Nebraska allows 219 per game for the season. I know we had Purdue go under 100 last week, but that's not sustainable either.
They went under 100 by a yard.
Yeah, but still, just even hovering right around 100. So I've got the number at 184.5 for Michigan State passing yards.
I'm going under. We've held the last 2 teams under. I think we keep them under. I think that it is a dark, and dreary day for the Michigan State offense.
Okay.
I'm going under as well. I think outside of Michigan, we are the best defense that they'll have seen this year.
Okay.
And I don't see them getting that high.
There's a part of me that wants to go over, but I'm going to go with the under.
The optimism with this guy tonight. Oh, my God.
This one's not really that optimistic. This is just him taking the numbers as they are.
Yeah. Question 6. Yards per completion by Nebraska. They are number 1 in the Big Ten West and number 3 in the conference. Yards per completion, not yards per attempt, at 12.6. Only Michigan and Ohio State are better than Nebraska is. Michigan State allows 12.4 and is second worst in the conference, in front of just Purdue, which we just faced. We had 20 yards per completion against them. Granted, it was helped by the long touchdown pass, but still.
And we only threw the ball 11 times.
Yeah. Well, we only had 6 completions, so. Nebraska is averaging 13.9 in the last 3 games. The number is 12.6 yards per completion. I figured I'd just keep it right at our season number and basically what they give up.
What's the number again?
12.6 yards per completion.
Over or under?
Yeah, that's kind of the point of these questions.
Thinking.
I'll let you think about it. I'm going under. I think they take away our long ball this week. That's the only way we've had anything more than about 6. So, Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going under.
our yards per completion is only just over 7. But our yards per attempt, I'm sorry, is just over 7.
I really think that they probably take away that long ball. I think our offensive run game gets going a lot more this week. It's going to be under.
BJ's really giving a lot of credit to their lack of coaching to make adjustments this week. I don't quite understand it. I'm taking the over because I think we start passing the ball a little more if we can't get the running game going.
Okay. To me, this is another tough one. I'm going to go with the over. Just because I honestly think it's going to be... What?
Can't with this guy's positivity tonight.
It's not really being that positive.
But I got to say, as positive as he's being, you're being incredibly negative too.
Yeah.
I'm not being negative. Just wait till the end.
I think we're not going to throw the ball very much. I think it could be tops 15 times. And if we complete 7 or 8 of them, that average could be, right there anyway. So last question I have, question number 7, Nebraska third down conversion defense. I got the number at 30%. Nebraska has allowed only 26% third down conversions since the Michigan game. Michigan State is 31.8 in Big Ten play, 35.5 for the season. So 30% on defense, third downs.
I will go under on that. I will go under on that solely because of the stat that Rhule pointed out in his press conference after the game. Going in at halftime, they were 4 for 8. They were giving up 50% at halftime, and the game ended 5 for 16.
Mm-hmm. They were 1 of 8.
That was a specific thing that he pointed out. The defense, you've been fucking amazing, but you've been fucking awful at this first half. Fix it, and they did. And that was a point of emphasis all week this week in practice. I guarantee it. I think they're going to be under. I think I'm going to get into it in a minute, but I have more thoughts on this defense.
I'm taking the under as well. If I don't expect Michigan State to score 10 points, I don't see them moving the ball that much.
Mm-hmm.
So, taking the under.
I'm taking the over. 30%'s tough.
He had to throw one out there. He had to throw one name.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
So, I've been holding off on this for like the last 3 questions.
He's about to explode.
I want to go on a little rant because
he's about to explode.
Matt
here.
thinks I'm being negative about this. I don't think that there is any
Challenge
part
accepted.
of this game where we are going to not look like the dominant team. I think this is going to look a lot more like the Michigan State Michigan game than it is the Michigan State Minnesota or Michigan State Rutgers or Iowa or any of those others. I think we are going to slowly but surely move the ball, 3.5, 4 yards at a time down the field in a very methodical way, putting up 10 to 16 play drives and scoring touchdowns. I think it's going to be a slow and steady push right from the beginning. That's the way I think this is going to be. It's going to be a bunch of 3 and outs by the defense and a slow, steady burn from the offense that is going to be nothing to wow or write home about, but at the end of the game, we're going to look up and say, that was the most boring 28-0 game that I've ever seen.
That's a ton of confidence around an offense that has not looked to be that in control of games to this point.
Correct.
I don't see us having the ability to just slow push it in on anybody this year. I think we have to rely on some chunk plays.
Sure.
I think we have to rely on the defense fucking up, not our defense, but their defense fucking up something so that we can get yardage. I don't see our offensive line having the ability to move on people like that.
I said it in one of the pipe, no pipe questions. The only thing consistent about our offense is its inconsistency.
That's part of why I think this is going to be that week.
I hope
where
so.
the offense looks totally different than it has.
That would be great. I'll believe it
It's
when
going to be cold.
I'll believe it when I see
It's going to be
it.
a trenches game, I think.
It's not going to be that cold. It's going to be like 55.
No.
That was the last time I saw it.
Game time is 42.
Oh, then it's drastically changed since the last time I looked at it.
55 to 42, that's still easy football weather. That's not 0 degrees.
No. I'm not saying it's 0 degrees, but it'll be windy. It's East Lansing. It'll be windy, and it's going to be 42 degrees outside and cloudy. Kickoff is at 11 a.m. It is going to be it's going to be a morning Big Ten November football game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it just speaks to slow burn for me. The Nebraska spread or the Nebraska favor is only by 3 in this game. It's an even 3 currently. I don't know what it opened at. I think it was 3.5, so it's actually gone down a half point. FBI's everywhere. It's kind of like what we were in with the Illinois game going in. I've seen a couple that have Michigan State favored slightly, a couple that have Nebraska favored slightly. ESPN's, which is what I typically use, has Nebraska favored as 52.6% chance to win this game. The over-under is only 34.5. So they are not expecting. Well, yeah, you guys said that last week, and it didn't fucking go under.
Yeah, because we scored a special teams touchdown.
Well, no, because we decided to put away drive out there at the end of the game. But yeah,
and without the special teams touchdown,
both of those counted for the same amount of points, so you can both be correct. It's fine.
Okay, fair enough.
Fucking ridiculous.
I am personally smashing on Nebraska -3. I think that is an easy win, layup win. Send it home. And as far as the over/under goes, I'm also going to pick under just because I think this is literally like a 28-0, 28-3 type game.
Yeah, I don't know that our offense scores that many points because I think last week was a fluke, but I'm taking the under and I'm taking Nebraska with the points.
Yeah, I think Nebraska covers the points. I don't think that's even a remote issue. Just because I know we always talk about how Nebraska struggles to score.
Yeah.
Michigan State struggles worse.
Yeah.
So
it'll be Nebraska
we
low to
haven't
mid-20s.
struggled to score that bad last
every
3 weeks.
game but the last one.
wait, let me rephrase it. It looks like a struggle for us to score.
Yes, I'll give you that. But we have typically the last 3 games we've put at least 1, if not 2, good drives together.
Yeah.
There were nice, long, methodical, well-scoring drives. And I think that we were going to be able to put that together and then some in this game.
Which speaks to the inconsistency. It's like,
Oh,
cool,
absolutely.
we can do the 1 or 2 drives.
Absolutely.
But we have 8 other drives that we'd like to at least show something.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most of those 8 other drives, we turn the ball over or we fumble it or whatever else.
Yeah, we've scored more than 25 points 3 times this year. We've only passed 30 once.
Yeah, last week.
So
we're on an uphill trend, man.
I don't see.
No.
I don't see it. I'm sorry.
I think we can get in the 20s. I said it early. Michigan State might score 10.
Our offense scored 24 points last week.
Yeah.
So if you think we're getting into the 20s and you think they might score 10, are you taking the under
Yeah.
at 34.5?
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Because, again,
that's what that math works out to be.
it might be 24-10, and that's still the under.
That's fair. That's actually, yeah, no, you're right. I felt a little tired this episode, but I am super fired up. We've got a special guest we're not going to tell anybody about until it comes out on Sunday evening. But be looking for the recap of this Nebraska dominating Michigan State win. Any final thoughts, boys?
I just can't wait for that show on Sunday.
Me too. Go fucking Big Red.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.